I'm just going to mention a couple of things that may be in the middle of a shift. How's it going, guys? My name is Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. We are affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is the 28th of July, 2025. And this is the numbers, the nuances, where you come weekly in order to know exactly what's going on in Utah's housing market by the numbers. And I will give you first my nuanced opinion of what the numbers tell us, and then I'll dive right into the numbers. I'll show you the charts, numbers right off the MLS so that you can decide for yourself what all the data means and make the most educated decisions you can in real estate here in Utah. Let's look right into it. Okay, a bird's eye view of our market right now tells us that nothing is necessarily changing right now from the way our market has been moving. I'm just going to mention a couple of things that may be in the middle of a shift. The first of those two things is our inventory. Every week I've been mentioning here what a good thing it is that our inventory has continued to trend upward throughout the year. Right from the beginning of the year to present, it's done nothing but trend up. This week, the number actually for the first time came in lower than last week's number on inventory. By itself, that would mean little, but when we look at the trajectory of our trend through quarters 1 and 2 and where the trajectory of the growth of inventory goes, the trajectory of the growth of our inventory is now under the trend line from where it's been all year. And of course, this last week it came in lower than the week before. So inventory looks to be moderating its upward growth. And right about now, that would make sense seasonally for how things normally move with inventory in Utah's market. Normally it peaks in around September, October, and then it starts to go down. What happened different this year for sure was the fact that it started climbing up from the very beginning of the year. Normally we don't see it starting to trend up until late March, early April. The second thing I'm going to mention is this, that our number of price drops that happen on the homes on the market in Utah, when we look at it from the beginning of last quarter, because I always look at every data point from the beginning of the quarter prior to present, looking at that data set of the number of price drops happening on homes on the market, it looks to be trending strongly up still, but for the last month, if we just zero in on the last month, it looks to be trending absolutely nowhere. It's hovering right around 1,500 a week. Now that may be in tandem with the fact that inventory might not be climbing as high as it has all year, and that would make sense. But I want to take this moment to just point out that for everybody online who has the tendency to point out, just pull one variable out of the data and single in on that one variable and blow up a whole story about how the housing market is on the verge of a collapse, right now you're looking pretty silly, because the growing number of price drops has been cause for you to say, look, all the homes on the market are staying on longer and they're all dropping their prices, and that's what you narrow in on. But when you fail to reconcile that with the fact that nearly all of the price drops that happen on our market happen to the tune of 2% or less of total asking purchase price, or with the fact that average home prices weren't actually dropping, or with the fact that throughout all this time since 2022 of rising interest rates and still rising prices, and now our home prices are about stagnant. But through all of that, the way we measure actualized demand, looking at how many homes are under contract at any given moment, or looking at how many homes sell each week, those data sets were incredibly resilient in Utah. And so when you fail to reconcile the one or two variables with the rest of the variables, you can create this story, and people who don't know the rest of the set of variables can go along, but anybody holding you accountable for telling the story that the housing market was on the verge of a collapse, or that home prices in Utah were about to take a waterfall dive, guys, just do something more meaningful with your time than chase likes and comments online. If you're passionate about giving data, then give the whole set of data. I think you'd be a lot happier and people be a lot better informed. Let's look at the numbers. Okay, here's where things are in the Utah housing market as of the 28th of July, 2025. Our current inventory stands at 13,500 even. That's down from the previous week, like we said, still trending up. Last week's average days on market came to 61. That's a jump up from last week's 55, but not outside the range in which we've seen it since the beginning of quarter 2. The prior week's average list price came to $669,106. That's up just a tiny bit, about $2K from the previous week. And last week's average sold price came to $656,312, and that is down a little bit from where it was the previous week. And so the difference between average list and average sold price for homes in Utah this last week came again in favor of the buyer to the tune of $12,794. The number of homes sold last week came to 517. That's down from last week. We've seen as high as 750 per week and as low as 370 per week on this data set since the beginning of the second quarter, and we're still averaging around 600 homes homes sold per week here in Utah, as you can see. Currently under contract right now, we have 5,363 homes under contract in Utah. That is up from the previous week. This data set is trending pretty level with the slightest downward trend right now, as you can see. Last week, the number of price reductions came to 1,440. That is down from the previous week. Still trending up throughout Q2 to present, as you can see and as we talked about. But if you look at just that last month or so, it's really stalled around 1,500 a week. Last week, the number of listings that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn from the MLS came to 374. That's down by just 2 from last week and trending up. And currently, our interest rates for a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan stand at about 6.81%. That's up a touch from the prior week, continuing to trend steady at just a little under 7%. And that is it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about any of that data, just hit me in the comments. I'm going to be happy to respond as always. If you or anybody you know is looking to move here in Utah in the coming months, and you need a buttoned up professional to make that move and transition and transaction as seamless and anxiety-free as possible, I hope you're comfortable reaching out to me. I'm going to be happy to work with you. And of course, as always, if this is the kind of data that you're interested in staying on top of, you will find no better way than to stay on top of it right here with me week to week. Thanks for watching this week, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, bye-bye.